Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome back to my Saturday Hodgepodge. It is actually Saturday morning. I didn't film this one on Friday, so I look a little disheveled. My nose is a little red. It's because I had to take off my breathe right strip, which keeps me from snoring a little bit. So probably you may not notice a difference. I feel a little more disheveled than I normally do on a Saturday morning. I've got a lot of kind of small things I think to talk about today, but the big thing I want to talk about has to do with translations. So last week I did the DNF tag, and I mentioned that I DNF'd Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov several times, and my main reason has to do with all the names. I got a lot of helpful suggestions about the brothers, read this instead of that, and, try to get a better edition because my edition, the print's really small. But Courtney Ferriter suggested that I try a different translation, that maybe a more lively translation would help carry me along. I appreciate Courtney's suggestion, but at the same time I thought to myself, translations are always one of those things that I don't really get. I'm not suggesting that the work of translators is not incredibly important to the reading experience. I know that it is, but I've always doubted whether or not I was smart enough to notice the difference. And then Shawn the Book Maniac this week had one of his great interview series videos this week, in which he talked to the translator Tina Cover. I think that's her name. And they talked about books in general, but then I thought about translation there, and Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures is a translator, and so I was thinking about translators and this kind of issue of does translation make a difference? And I'm not trying to say that for other people it doesn't, but when the topic of translations always comes up, I've always felt kind of like I was at a a dinner party or at a party, and I was talking to several people who were like astrophysicists, and they were talking about stuff that went right over my head. I have a tendency to nod politely and go, oh, yes, I'm sure that's true, even though I have no experience of it. And so for me, the whole translation thing I think presents a problem, or that I don't really understand, because A, I only speak one language, and that's English, and B, while I do read works that have been translated, I don't usually read the same work that's been translated by more than one translator. So, for the most part, when people talk to me about translation, it just kind of goes right over my head. But I thought to myself, surely there must be something to this. A lot of smart people who I respect tell me that there's something to this. And so I thought, well, how can I figure out if translations ever mattered to me, if a translation of a book's ever had any impact on me? And so I thought, well, the author who I've read the most often, whose works are translated, is Balzac, translated from the French. And so I thought, well, why don't you get down, the Balzac novels you've read, and I've read 10, the 10 Balzac novels you've read, and rank them and see if translation if there's any kind of correlation between how much you like them in translation. Well, of the 10 Balzac novels I have, 3 were translated by one person, 2 by another, and then the other 5 were each translated by a different person, I believe. So I went through my Balzac novels in order of the way I'd rank them in the order I liked the most. So started with The Black Sheep, that's number 1. Harlot High and Low right now, that's number 2. Then Lost Illusions, which is related to Harlot High and Low. Cousin Bet. Pere Goriot, which is actually, now that I see it, this is number 5, it feels like it's not high enough. Eugenie Grandet, which I recommend to people all the time as a starting point. The Wrong Side of Paris. Cousin Pons, which I read recently as kind of I think last year, as a buddy read with lots of people. Then The History of the 13. And The Wild Ass's Skin. Well, when I went through those, believe it or not, I went through those and I looked at the translator. The Balzac novels that are at the bottom of my list, my least favorite Balzac novels, all have the same translator. And that translator is Herbert J. Hunt. So maybe translation does have something to do with my enjoyment of these novels. Maybe if I read a different translation of The Wild Ass's Skin, for instance, maybe I would like it better. Maybe there is something to it, even for somebody who doesn't normally recognize doesn't believe I recognize the difference in translation. Anyway, I just thought I would share the result of that experiment with you. I'm not sure how much sense that makes or how much logic my experiment is a demonstration of, but I just, I was just kind of curious about that and trying to see if I could think of any time in my reading life where translation seemed to have made a difference. And lo and behold, in the foreign language writer I read the most often, it does seem to be some correlation. So it's just some other things I want to talk about. Jane Austen July ended yesterday because today is August and yesterday was July. I did finish the audiobook of Sense and Sensibility, and I enjoyed it a lot. I will say that the ending of Sense and Sensibility is fairly disappointing to me. Not because everybody lived happily ever after and got married, but I don't think Edward Ferrars deserves Eleanor. I'm not exactly sure what she sees in him. That bothers me. I kind of, like a lot of people, a lot of the characters of the book, thought that Eleanor and Colonel Brandon would make a much better match. Colonel Brandon and Marianne, there is a significant age difference there, and it's a little weird to me that, and a little creepy to me, that Colonel Brandon, for all his fine qualities, is attracted to Marianne because she resembles his first love, his first wife. That's a little disturbing. And Marianne just kind of marries him because there's no one else to marry almost, and then falls in love with him, becomes devoted to him, which is nice, but it's kind of in a way anticlimactic, and particularly for me with Eleanor, in the course of the book, you really come to admire Eleanor's strength and her convictions and her character, and then she marries Edward. Anyway, so there's that. That's the only Jane Austen book I read, and I listened to it on audio. I did watch the BBC adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, which I liked okay. I've already given my Colin Firth opinion here, and received some mild blowback for that. I watched the 2005 Keira Knightley version of Pride and Prejudice again, and having watched it after having watched the BBC version, I will say that yes, it does seem very rushed, and it does seem like there's a lot of stuff left out. But I love the musical score. I love the visuals. I like that Mr. Darcy better. Sorry. So I still like that movie better. I did watch the BBC adaptation of Sense and Sensibility as well, which I liked, and I watched Miss Austen Regrets. It's kind of another movie, Jane Austen adjacent, which is an imagining of her life near her death, and whether or not she was disappointed in the fact that she never got married, and why maybe she never got married. And I enjoyed all those things. I enjoyed all the adaptations I watched, and I enjoyed my Jane Austen July, even though I only read one Jane Austen book. I guess I'm saving them out. I have two more of Jane Austen's published novels during her lifetime to get to, and that would be Emma and Mansfield Park. Those are the two I have to get to, and I'm not sure which one I'll choose for next year. But I did enjoy my Jane Austen July. I also wanted to mention that Faulkner in August starts today. The hashtag will be up above the title of this video. This year we are reading The Sound and the Fury. I have an introductory link, which will give you an introductory video, which will give you the schedule if you're interested in reading along with us. It's me and Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics, and Crypto and Una from the Codex Cantina, and I'm not sure if Crypto and Una are going to make a video every week, or if Alan is, but I'm going to make a video every week, and I'm going to try to post that video on Friday, even though that's, one day short, probably, of our reading time. I'm going to try to post that video on Friday, and I'm not going to try to discuss every single thing in each section. I'll leave that to the fellows of the Codex Cantina. They're much better at it than I am. I'm just going to try to highlight some things I think are important from the section, some things that will give us something to discuss and maybe even, disagree about. That would be awesome. Anyway, that starts this week as well. Oh, my reading week has gone. Had a really good reading week. I finished 2 books this week. Well, actually, I finished 3. I finished Sense and Sensibility, but I did finish How to Be an Anti-Racist. I read this about 2 days, really fast for me. and I already made a review of this. I really thought this was an important and interesting book with some really good ideas in it that I think should be widely read, and I'm sure it already is. And then as a part of the Toni Morrison 2020 read along, I did finish Jazz. That is I think this is the sixth novel. This is the sixth novel of hers that we've read so far this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. One of the things I like the most about Toni Morrison, or one of the things that impressed me the most, is that her novels up to this point have had a tendency to be very different from one another. There are some similarities, I guess, between The Bluest Eye and Sula, but this novel really stands out to me as an imaginative work, and it essentially imagines New York City, the African American communities of New York City during the 1920s, right around the end of the Great Migration, and it really kind of features the city almost as a character, and from time to time the language reads like jazz. Sometimes the sentences are long and flowing, and sometimes they're short and kind of bebopish. And I really enjoyed this reading experience, but I doubt I'm going to come up with a Toni Morrison novel where I say, well, that was just terrible. I enjoy some more than others. But anyway, I did finish reading Jazz, so that was good. Oh, the BookTube prize ended this month, and I read the nonfiction section of the BookTube prize, and so my BookTube prize ranking video will go up on Tuesday. I think that's what I'm going to do this Tuesday, in case you're curious about how I rank the 6 nonfiction books in, I think, Group A. So I'll have that video up on Tuesday. And then I just wanted to end like I do oftentimes with just some recommendations. Jen the Librarian, I don't know if you're subscribed to her or not. If not, you should be. I'll leave a link to her channel down below. Did a great video about, essentially, it's mostly about Wilfred Owen, but it's about World War I literature and poetry. But it's kind of a tribute to Wilfred Owen, and it's just charming and informative. And funny, and well worth your time watching, so I'll leave a link to that specific video down below. I also found a new channel during the course of this week. The channel is called Britt Writerly. Britt discusses books. She writes, mostly. I think it's a little bit more of a writing channel maybe than a book channel, but we'll see. She writes, she shares samples from her writing. She's doing this series where she reads about 3.5 minutes from something she's writing all the time. She gives writing advice. She discusses writing topics. I just found her to be charming and interesting, and her opinions forcefully stated, and oftentimes I think rather brilliantly. So I'll leave a link to that channel down below as well. Anyway, there you go. There's my long, rambling, pause-filled, messed up hair, red-nosed Saturday Hodgepodge for this week. As always, look forward to your comments in the comment section below, and thank you for watching.